It's funny because I met John Avildsen. I was doing sound back then, and he was telling me about the poster for Rocky, that Adrian and Rocky were just at the end of the movie holding hands and walking out of an empty boxing ring.
Okay.
And then he heard Conti's music, which was bum bum ba-da-dum 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 bum bum ba-dum. It was iconic.
Yeah.
And he goes, we have to reshoot the end. And he goes, and they had no money for us. And he goes, I need a half a day and I need 12 extras. And I've used this now in every film. If you watch my films, they resemble the end of Rocky because they just put Sylvester Stallone over here and Adrian over here. And they just had the same 12 people run like this right in front of the camera. It looks like hundreds and flash cubes going off. And then you can kind of go, oh, that was the day they really shot it. Oh, nope, this is the day where they have the 12 people going like this. But it still works. I still, to this day, I'll go, give me like 5 or 10 people, and I'll even walk in front of the camera and just do wipes, but it makes it look like there's all this action and people going on. By doing it myself and on all those things, you've learned all the different variations of how to do it. Like when you're doing the Disney stuff, you have kids. So kids can only appear in front of the camera I think 5 hours a day, because 3 hours they got to be in school, they have to have breaks and lunch. So even though they might have a 9 or 10 hour day, we only have them 5 hours. So you have to be clever on how you shoot them.
Sure.
And
sure,
so
makes sense.
you might be doing a dolly shot. And so I learned, like, you do a dolly shot where they're walking like this. Okay, great.
Okay.
And then, you'd think, oh, now to get this person shot, I got to move the camera. All I got to do is leave the camera there, flip them, dolly this way with them, and all of a sudden that cuts together. With other director friends of mine and DPs, we'd go, what's the least we can do it in?
Yeah.
And there was this one shot that somebody was driving a truck, and we got the passenger shot done.
Yeah.
And there was no way we were going to get the camera over here to do the driver for this angle, and they're talking. And I looked at it, and I looked at his clothes, and all he had was an American flag on, and I go, sit in the passenger seat.
Okay.
And I go, and put your hands up like this, like you're driving a car.
Okay.
And then we flipped it in post. So he's looking, and nothing changed. I mean, his face did flip. If you knew his face well enough,
right.
I think it was Patrick Warburton, you would know what happened. But otherwise, you cannot tell. And then the wide shot that we shot early in the day sold that he was driving, and then there was like a 2-shot. But in their close-ups, I cheated him into the same seat and just put his hands out of frame, like steering a car like this.
That's so great.
Actors, especially with kids,
okay.
The adults, you'd shoot the master, you do the kids close-up, and then you'd go to the next scene. And by the end of the day, when you're getting the parents close-up, they'd be looking at a dot on the wall and be able to have, and once you learn that you could look at a dot on the wall and be good, and you cut it together, all of a sudden you go, wow, anything's possible. Another kid film I did, they were in a barn sitting on bales of hay.
Yeah.
And we had time to do the master and one close-up, but I had 6 other kids in the scene. So everybody was, you didn't make your day, and how are you going to do it? And I go, we'll make it. So I said, just every day, bring me 2 bales of hay. So every day we'd shoot whatever it is. I'd put 2 bales of hay up, and I'd get actor, X.
That's awesome.
And then the next night we would do actor Y, and I'd turn the hay a little different. And so once you saw it with the master, but then you saw their close-ups, and they would look to the right direction. None of the other actors were there.
Yeah.
It was just their close-up here. And then you realize you can cheat anything and make it work, as long as that trick where you put it all together. And I just love it. I love faking things out and tricking things. And now with like CG, you put backgrounds behind them, and as long as the actors act like they're in the place, we could be in the back of a big snowy mountain, and if they act cold and you add some snow, boom, it looks completely legitimate.
Now, are you thinking like an editor when you're shooting then?
Well, in that particular case, I had to, because otherwise I didn't get the movie in the can.
Yeah.
So, for example, even on Soul Surfer, we had Carrie Underwood only for like 4 days.
Okay.
So she had to show up at the church on the beach. She had to show up at a party. She had to show up at the youth minister place and all this stuff. So it was mathematically impossible. We couldn't do it all. But I just said, okay, we're doing a party on the beach, and there's going to be Christmas lights hanging around. So I did her close-ups with Christmas lights in just the corner of one little thing, even before I shot the party. But I understood where the party was going to be, and I did all her coverage there, and then later cut it into the movie. But once I understood the visual of how you could cheat anything, then I have it. It's in my bag of tricks of what to do.
Sure.
And now with technology, literally you throw up a green screen and you can put them anywhere. So there might be a scene, they say it's in a courtroom, and we don't have money or we don't have time to shoot the courtroom, so you cut it. And I went, wait. All he does is he comes in and he says not guilty. Let me have him stand in front of a green screen, and I'll put a courtroom scene in there. For example, I shot at Versailles for King's Daughter. So we actually could only shoot there on Mondays for the day stuff, or after 7 p.m. So we'd go into the Hall of Mirrors. We drove these lifts out that had the lights that went up. We shot the scene with, Pierce Brosnan dancing around the Hall of Mirrors. And at 6 o'clock, we said, okay, that's a wrap. All the trucks would go down and we drove off and not one wire was left.
Wow.
And so there's all these tricks. You can always get what you want, but you have to just logistically plan it out and make it work.